All right, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank y'all for holding on and staying the course. We have a great wrap-up session that is going to give you some thoughts and ideas and hopefully your commitment to support this next organization that's going to talk about their campaign and effort to reform the parole process. You got to hear a little bit this afternoon about some of the issues that have been, I'm sorry, y'all, I just walked up the steps. And your girl don't even wear heels that much, so I'm trying to look cute for y'all today. But anyway, I am so honored to invite the staff of Women on the Rise, and yes, I am a board member, hey, to invite the staff of Women on the Rise, and I'm not sure who else. Is it just y'all, Robyn? Oh, Lord. See, they ain't give me all the information. So I'm going to let Robyn come up here and tell us who all is going to be on this panel so we can hear more about the work and then hopefully get a call to action on what we can do to help support them as they continue to fight to get so many of our people free. So without further ado, Robyn Hasan-Simpson.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Like Tony said, thank y'all. I know it's been a long day, but we're not going to be much longer. But this was a much needed conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and invite my panelists up here. So first one I have is Ronnie Fuller, Lucy Harrell, and Atia Holly. So to get started, like I said, my name is Robyn Hasan-Simpson. I'm a Woman on the Rise. And we're here to talk about parole in Georgia and the fair, transparent, and a true look at public safety through rehabilitation. So right now, too much happens behind closed doors. Families don't know how loved ones are denied, what they need to be approved, or how decisions are really being made. We, the people, have the right to see and understand how our justice system works, including how and why someone is granted or denied parole. We're also paying a high price for over-incarceration. Keeping people in prison longer than necessary is extremely expensive to the community, and not just the monetary aspect, but it also robs our community of workers, parents, caregivers, and taxpayers who could be contributing to our society instead of sitting into a jail cell. So, and if we say we believe in rehabilitation, then parole has to reflect that. People cannot fully rebuild their lives without a real chance to come home, without access to their families, a fair process, and a clear, honest information about how progress and their prospections. Today, we'll talk about how to make parole in Georgia more open, more fair, less costly, and truly focus on helping people returning to our communities. So now let's introduce our panelists. I have Atia Holly. She is the Deputy Director of Southern Center for Human Rights and has litigated cases challenging denial of the right to counsel for poor Georgians, illegally closed courtrooms, wealth-based detentions, inhumane prison conditions, and the denial of utility services because of court debt. In addition, Atia has teamed up with other Southern Center attorneys to establish the office's practice for challenging extreme prison sentences in the Deep South. Atia is grateful to call Otis and Clive Stone her sons and Nate her loving husband. Let's welcome Atia. Okay. All right, then we have Lucy Harrell, one of my besties, is a jailhouse lawyer turned lawyer who founded Atlanta Community Support Project the year she came home in 2022. At ACSP, Lucy organizes with people in prison, families, advocates, and other attorneys across Georgia to increase access to the courts and the civic and bureaucratic processes that impact our lives. Let's welcome Lucy. And next we have Ronnie. Reverend Ronnie R. Fuller is a justice reform advocate, entrepreneur, and community leader whose lives reflect the power of redemption and second chances. a returning citizen and the first person released through the Fulton County District Attorney's Reentry Program, the only one of its kind in the nation, he has transformed lived experience into leadership. He serves as a campaign and reentry organizer with Women on the Rise. He sits on the advisory board of ARC Gender Justice and serves on the board of the End Mass Incarceration Georgia Network. Let's welcome Ronnie. And I want to add, he hasn't even been home a year. So I just want to add that. Out here working. All right, so let's jump right into the questions. So let's start with Atia. What do you wish every judge, prosecutor, and lawmaker understood about parole before they make decisions that affect people's lives?
Hi, everyone. Tech is not my thing, as my colleagues know. One aspect of our work at the Southern Center, as Ms. Robyn mentioned, is trying to free people from extreme sentences. And with that work comes meeting with prosecutors to explain people's sentences, why they're harsh, and why they need another chance out. And one of the responses that we often get when we explain that someone has served 2 decades in prison, for example, of a life without parole sentence is, wow, they're still in prison? And this response is driven by the myth that parole is a safety net, that parole can undo harsh sentencing practices and harsh sentencing laws. But with few exceptions, people who are sentenced to serve decades of prison will serve decades of prison, even with a parole sentence, or even with a parolable sentence and a parole board. And so I wish that every judge and prosecutor knew that parole will not save us, and they cannot just sentence people to lengthy, extreme sentences with abandon, thinking that the parole board will come in to save the day, because it often does not.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So Lucy, what were the key turning points that brought you from being inside the system to advocating of others' freedoms?
I think the first thing is, Robyn, those things I don't think were mutually exclusive, and I know that Ronnie can probably attest to this, and you as well. Mm-hmm. You don't, when you're inside and you're doing work pro se, or you're working on policy issues, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for everybody else. And I had a lot of brick walls with parole. I mean, y'all know this, the Southern Center knows this. You know, and so at a certain point, it's like you want to help other people because you don't even know if you can help yourself. You know, but also we want to push from every angle that we possibly can and get relief for people, whoever we can, in whatever ways we can. So it's really not about the self, even though everybody certainly wants to advocate to get out. Everybody's family wants their person to get out, but I think people in this space doing this work know that it is a collective effort. So, yeah.
Thank you. So, Ronnie, what from your own time inside most clearly showed you that parole is broken, and how does that drive your work for reform now?
Okay. So I saw firsthand how people can change, and that change wasn't acknowledged. If it was up to the parole board, I would still be sitting in prison right now. They didn't let me out. They didn't think that I deserved a chance. And one thing, when you enter diagnostics, they tell you that don't get DRs. If you want to go home or a chance to go home, don't get DRs, stay out of trouble, do that. And when you do that, there's so many people still getting denied by following that, you know. So even though that I was let out through Fulton County District Attorney's Office, I've left so many people in there that do deserve a chance. And so until I see them home, we continue doing this work.
Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about public safety. So Lucy, are there ways that public conversation around parole could be reframed so that safety and second chances aren't seen as opposites?
Yeah, I mean, second chances or first chances for a lot of people in public safety are the same thing. You know, I don't know, we've been duped along the way
Yeah.
with these narratives. And, you know, a lot of ACSP's parole advocacy work, most of it has to do with people who are serving life sentences and just the very, very arbitrary nature of how parole releases or decisions are applied to those people. And so, you know, one thing we always talk about is that people who are convicted, and this is, you know, we want to talk about evidence-based work. The state of Georgia and the parole board spends quite a lot of money on research. But a lot of times we get frustrated because we don't think they're actually looking at the data that we're sending them in particular people's cases. You know, I always argue, for instance, that people who are convicted of homicide offenses have, you know, less than a 5% chance of ever being recriminalized in our lives. That people who have mandatory minimums and people that have all of these charges that are considered, quote, the worst, are the people who will almost never be recriminalized again. So if it's a matter of pure public safety from the traditional standpoint, those people should be let out first. Those people should be given the most meaningful consideration if it's data-backed, if it's evidence-based. The other thing is just what we all know, which is public safety means people getting what they need. People don't need to be put in harm's way, have their life threatened by being in these dangerous prison conditions. That is not public safety. That's not what public safety looks like. Re-traumatizing people over and over for years and years is not what public safety looks like. That's just common sense. So, yeah, those things are the same thing.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Atia, how do things like disciplinary write-ups, lack of programming, or not having family support affect parole decisions?
I think that they affect them greatly, as Ronnie mentioned a second ago. But there's a couple of ironies with these factors. One being that the requirement that there be family support, and family support is paramount. I mean, it means the world on so many levels. But I think it's somewhat rich coming from this correctional system that is so intent on splitting families up. And when you look at how mass incarceration factors into our overall history, our mass incarceration system is pretty much the biggest family separator since chattel slavery. And so when you then condition access to getting out on having this family support that you have literally stripped from people, you're further punishing them, as Lucy kind of hinted at a second ago. And then the DR write-ups piece, Lucy also hinted at this as well. I have never seen our prisons as dangerous as they are right now here in Georgia. And when you're just punishing people just based on terms on a paper without truly understanding the context of these disciplinaries, you're all but ensuring that they just never leave those doors. And to be fair, as Ronnie said, you can have all of the programs in the world, you can have a flawless disciplinary record, you could have the most comprehensive, complete post-release reentry plan and still not leave and still be denied parole. And as long as we are conditioning access to getting out on people, frankly, not being able to change the one thing that got them into the prison walls, people are just not going to get out. And so, yes, all these factors matter, but people are literally breaking their backs trying to meet this form that the parole board is asking for, and they still don't leave.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Ronnie, I want to ask you about the politics around it. So what policy change around parole do you believe would be the most impact?
Well, I'm gonna say I think there's two things, but one would be moving from the discretionary version of parole into a standards-based system where they had to go by, was you a public safety threat, the programming, like all of that, and not just at their discretion, because right now it's just based, they could just say, I don't like the color shirt the person has on or the color of their hair and deny you. So if you go to a system-based, and it's based off of the things that you've done in there, completed in public safety and the harm, that you're no longer a threat, right? So I think the doors would immediately open for a lot of people. And another thing, and there's a long reach, but I believe that it would change a lot, would be that the parole board members have to be elected. Like right now, they're like the mob. You know, I hate to say it, but for real, like there's no one over them. I mean, the sheriffs have to be elected, the governor has to be elected, the DA has to be elected. I mean, the clerk of court has to be elected, you know, by the people, but the parole board members don't, right? And, you know, we have to remember why it was even established in the first place, was to remove politics, that the governor was taking bribes, right? And so they create the parole board to remove the politics, but they're still there because the governor appoints the people he want in there. So if you remove that and allow the people to decide who sits on those in those seats, then guess what? You might get some, you know, the doors are open because they have to answer to somebody right now. Mm-hmm. They literally have to answer to nobody.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you for that. So Lucy, how can Georgia ensure that people who have lived experience with incarceration and parole are meaningfully included in shaping parole reform policies rather than simply being consulted after decisions are being made?
I think that they can put you on the parole board, Robyn.
Oh, that's my dream. For those that don't know, my dream is to have a formerly incarcerated person to be on the parole board, and that is my dream, to basically bring transparency. Because if someone gets denied, I want it to be, I'm sorry, I just took over the question. But I want it to be they're being denied because they need to get this programming. They need to get this education. They need to get certain things. Not, you know, it's just not your time or due to the nature of your crime. Because we know 100 years from now, the nature of the crime is not going to change, you know, but the person does, and they're not looking at that. So, yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, I think that the parole board should have input from the people who know the people they're considering. Exactly. Like, that's the first thing. I think it's very important for us to advocate for people. You know, I was writing parole support letters when I was still locked up because I considered myself to be an organizer, and that, you know, parole, just like it is now, was a very important issue, and I wanted to be able to provide support from the perspective of somebody who actually knew that person, had been living with that person recently, like over the past few years, and so I still encourage that. I still, when we do parole, you know, when we support people's parole, like, that's why we reach out to y'all. That's why I reach out to other directly impacted people, because it's just one of those things that I'm going to keep pushing until the culture changes. You know, like, we got to change the culture. I think that it's just so important that they see that they are getting input and perspective from people who actually know what's going on in that way, and that there's no more direct way than people who've been living with folks to be able to give input. So to me, that right now, I mean, I'm not talking about in the future dreamy sense where we're electing parole board members and things like that, which is great, and I would love that if we could elect Robyn, you know. Yeah, but I do think that right now we just still have to, it's just like we do across the street, right? We go over there and we say, you need to listen to me on this bill because this bill affects me and my family. Like, that should be everything. All of their work should be reaching out to people that are affected by it, the issues that they're legislating, and parole board decisions should be exactly the same, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, Atia, how do you feel about adopting in-person parole hearings or video recordings so board members can directly see and access the change in an incarcerated person?
So it's so easy to dehumanize from a distance, right? And so I think that Georgia needs to join the dozens and dozens of other states that actually have in-person hearings. Those are paramount. And while video hearings can seem like the next best option, we have to call them what they are. Video hearings are not about increasing access, they're about convenience. And what studies have shown is that people who appear by video for various hearings fare no better than people who are on the inside. In fact, they fare worse, precisely because there is that distance that I was talking about a second ago. The Brennan Center for Justice did a study in Chicago and found that people who appear for video bond hearings, that their bonds were 54 to 90% higher than those of people who are in person. And that when people appear for video deportation hearings, the people who are on video are far more likely to be deported than the people who are in person. And so when we think about video hearings, again, we have to think about what they are designed to do. And they are necessary in a state like ours, where we are a global leader in incarceration. We simply lock too many people up. And so video hearings are a nice, easy way to make it convenient for board members to conduct hearings from the comforts of their office or their living room. But we cannot make it easy for board members to keep people in prison. If you insist on keeping tens of thousands of people in prison, you need to do the work of meeting those people, seeing who they are, and not dismissing them outright based on a video.
Thank you. Okay, can you keep it for me? I have one more question. I want to base off of that. So, being an attorney that actually works with people's cases at Southern Center, are there any common myths or assumptions the parole board have about incarcerated people that you're constantly having to challenge?
This isn't so much a myth about incarcerated people, it's just a myth about the prison system itself. And that's that being in prison and serving a lot of time in prison somehow makes people better. And we see this all the time because so many of the people that we represent and work with, they get letters back from the board denying them parole, not because they haven't completed enough programs, because they have, not because they got too many DRs, because they haven't, and not because they don't have a great plan post-release, they actually do. It's because they've quote unquote served an insufficient amount of time. And that language just signals that they feel that as long as you just stay in prison, then somehow you will come out better than before. And what we know, and what Lucy and Ronnie have already mentioned, is that our prison system is the worst it has been in years. And there's just simply no way that you can get better in prisons where the staff vacancy rate is 60% or 70% or over. And you just can't get better in places where you don't have access to programs precisely because there's no staff to work on them. Or where you fear for your life every single day. That doesn't make you better. But as long as we equate rehabilitation to years in prison, people will continue to languish because we have this myth that prisons are improving people's lives.
Thank you. Great answer. All right, so let's talk about the path going forward. So Lucy, for law students or young lawyers listening, what skills or perspectives do you think they need to start doing parole advocacy well?
They need to connect with the community. It's like, man, this is full circle because this is what I was talking about and thinking about early this morning. You know, we do these parole CLEs, and we always invite women on the rise for that reason, because we need, especially young lawyers, to understand that we are the experts of our cases. We know our situations better than any legal professional is going to, and the community knows what's best. The community can offer a wealth of support, and they need to tap into it. And it's just like any good lawyer that I know, people in our community that we work with, like, that's just not what law school trains. They train a disconnect, and so we have to like train out the disconnect with people in order to have really good legal advocates on our side. The best lawyers are the people who understand and are tied to and embedded in the community, and that's it.
Thank you, thank you. And so for Ronnie, for people listening who want to support For people listening who want to support fair parole practices, what is a concrete action that they can take to support parole reform?
The first step is becoming educated on your state's parole policies and laws. Reaching out to your legislators next, and if that's something that's difficult for you to do, reach out to your community organizations that do this work and ask for help. And I'm sure, Women on the Rise, Lucy, Athea will definitely guide you. So that one is becoming educated, and understand how it's actually working and how it affects you, even if it doesn't affect you directly, indirectly. And then just start knocking on your legislators' doors, emailing them, calling them. I mean, they work for us, and you just gotta, they can't be in that office without us, right? And so once they get, before they get elected, they running around, they come into your town, they come into your businesses, knocking at your doors, and then once they get over there, you don't see them no more. But they still work for you and still need you. So that's the best way to get involved.
So thank you all very much for y'all's time and expertise. Atia with Southern Center for Human Rights, Lucy with the Atlanta Community Support Project, and of course, Ronnie with Women on the Rise. Let's give them a hand. So as we close, I want to ask everyone in this room to treat what you heard today not just as a story, but as an assignment. Let's stay informed and keep learning. Don't let today be the last time you engage about parole. Learn how your parole board is appointed and how decisions are made and who is eligible. We have the governor's race coming up this year, and the governor is the one that appoints the parole board, just FYI. Engage decision makers. Find out who represents you in the legislature and on any oversight bodies. Email, call, meet with them. Tell them you support fair, evidence-based parole laws and meaningful second chances or first chances. I'm gonna start saying that. Support legal and reentry work. If you're an employer, a landlord, an educator, or service provider, examine your own policies. Where can you eliminate barriers for people coming home? And change the narrative. Push back what you hear, no one changes, or they should just do every day of their sentence. Use the stories and facts you heard today to show that accountability and redemption can coexist. Lift up success stories, people who have come home on parole and are now workers, parents, caregivers, and leaders. Let this panel be the beginning of your involvement and not the end of the conversation. Thank you all very much.
Thank y'all. Y'all have gotten your marching orders. I'm sorry. Oh, we have time for questions. Did anybody have any questions before we let our panelists go? I know, girl. You have a question. Come on. All right.
So, an ignorant question, which is what we're which we're here to resolve, ignorance. So, isn't it Pardons and Paroles Board?
Yeah, it's part of it.
So, if somebody wants leniency or to commute a death sentence or something like that, it's the same people, right? Okay, I just wanted to verify that.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
And that's part of compassionate release. All right, we letting them go. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay, so y'all have made it to the end, but it's the beginning. How many of you feel a sense of joyful resistance? Yes, 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 yes. We are so thankful for you to be here with us today. Hopefully you will take everything that you heard, that you felt. Hopefully you felt something when you heard some of the stories. Anything that you got to experience with talking amongst each other, or when you went over to the Capitol, some lessons that you got out of that experience, take it and build from it. There are ongoing activities with the Justice Reform Partnership. Please stay engaged. There's a lot that's done virtually, and we try to do things in person every now and again when we can. Be ready for next year. Bring somebody with you or somebodies. Y'all could pack a car, get a bus, whatever you got to do. Bring more people here. And we want to be able to hear from you. So please fill out the evaluation. The QR code is on the bottom of the agenda. If you don't get to it today, try to get to it by tomorrow. We know, because my brain kind of tired right now, too. But yes, we really appreciate you. Nikki, I want to invite you up for closing words. Come on up here. Come on up here. And before Nikki gets here, we definitely want to thank everyone that has contributed to making this day successful. All of the JRP members who have volunteered their time to put this program together. Many meetings, many hours put into scheduling these panels and scheduling the workshops and all of that. A lot of hours put into that, and Nikki has been the one coordinating that, and I want to thank you publicly for the work that you do to hold us together and keep us together. So I want to hand you the mic. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. It's been a long day, but 15 years. I started this off this morning giving honor to Marissa, and I hope we've made her proud today. And for those of you who just stuck with us from 8 o'clock this morning to now, I appreciate you all. And I know she's shining and smiling right now. And today, we want it to be about storytelling and solidarity and action. And those of you who did the breakout sessions and went across the street, it's something different this year. We want to do something different, get away from the panels. But I think we had a great day, and I just appreciate all of you sharing this space today. Again, I don't know if Brendan, can we put the QR code up again? We do have the code for you to share some feedback with us about today. We are doing something different, what you like, some things we want to change, but just share your thoughts and how you can continue to engage with us in the coalition. If you like what you saw today, and if you want to be a part of our coalition, reach out to myself. You saw some of us with the partner tags. We're partners, but we can certainly get some more, to help out in this space. But I do appreciate all of you all today. So we're going to go off in farewell.